Victory Outreach has serviced the city of Santa Maria since 1996. Under the leadership of Pastor Mike and his wife, Sister Lori, Victory Outreach Santa Maria has produced an outreach ministry called Standing in the Gap. This show focuses on the stories of men and women who have had an encounter with Jesus Christ, and as a result of that encounter, their lives have been changed. Our hope is that as you view this show, you will realize that if Jesus could do that for them, he can also do it for you. It doesn't matter what you've gone through, whether it's drugs, alcohol addiction, divorce, depression, whatever it might be, he can do the same for you. We hope that you enjoy the show, and we are standing in the gap for you. Well, welcome to our show once again, and we are thankful to be on the air and appreciate all of you out there. First thing we want to do is thank all of you for the city of Santa Maria, city of Lompoc, Arroyo Grande, all of you who supported our event at Fala's in the Fala's parking lot last month. We had a great event. It was a fantastic turnout. We had rap singers and that came all the way from Bakersfield. We had lots of booths and public support, lots of food booths. It was a fantastic event, and it could only happen because of the support of all of you out there. We want to just thank you for it. Another event that's coming up, and we just want to make you aware of, is what you normally would call Halloween. We call it Harvest Night, and we want to invite you out to our Harvest Night event. That'll be at our old church over on Oakley, and we'll get you the address, and we'll have it on the screen, and we want to invite you there. It'll be at starting at 7 o'clock, and it'll run till about 9 o'clock. There'll be booths, there'll be candy, there'll be events, there'll be hot dogs, there'll be soda, lots of events for the kids. So you're invited, and we'd like to see you come on out and enjoy that event with us. So for tonight, last week we talked with a gentleman named Joe Ward. Joe had been in gangs and been through a lot of drugs and been through our men's home and has come out, and you remember seeing the show. He has kids, and he had like 10 kids, and wonderful wife, but his life has been restored, and that's kind of what happens in Victory Outreach. Tonight we have a young man with us. I call him a young man, but when you see him, you'll see you'll decide whether he's young or not. But he's a good guy, and he's been through some things. We want to share them with you, and just like in our open, we share these stories because we want you to see that we go through things and things happen in our lives, but our lives can be changed, and that's why we share these testimonies. So I want to introduce you to a man that I met probably 7-8 years ago. We were studying together over in Lompoc. His name is Rodrigo, and welcome, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
And it's good to see you here.
Thank
good
you,
to have you here.
Well, it's good to be here tonight, and it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to share with the community, what we are all about.
Yeah. Well, Rodrigo, we want to start with just what your backstory is because, again, I think people, as they hear your backstory, and as we come forward to today with you, we're going to be picking people up along the way because they're going to be saying, oh, wow, I did that, or I went through that, or I went through this. Yeah. And so as you share your story, then we want to reach that place where people can see that as you were helped and received hope, they also might be able to receive hope. Because there's that guy that's sitting in a room somewhere,
exactly.
Or broken, and they're looking for hope, and they're broken without hope. Maybe on the verge of OD. Some things like we're going to be talking about tonight. So I'd like to kind of start with how you came to Santa Maria and what your life was like as a young man in Santa Maria.
Well, actually, I came to Santa Maria in 1987. I was 11 years old when my parents brought me from Mexico. It was very difficult for me. It was a different culture, different lifestyle here in the United States. So it took me a long time to adapt to this culture here in the United States.
Yeah.
So I was raised here in Santa Maria since I was 11. I'm 44 now. And I had a rough life at the beginning, but
So did you speak English when you came?
no.
No?
No, actually, when I came, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be here. I went to elementary school here. I did like a year and a half in elementary school. I was in 5th grade. So I finished my 5th grade, and then I went into 6th grade. Then I went to El Camino in high school. But throughout the whole time when I was in school, I wasn't really paying attention in school because I was feeling like I wasn't fitting in, you know, because everybody was different. Everything here was different than Mexico. So I went through a period of, you know, depression, you know, where I didn't...
Because you couldn't relate?
I couldn't relate, and like I said, it was very hard for me to adapt to this culture, you know, and so, you know, because of that, I kind of closed off, and I didn't want to learn the language. I didn't want to learn.
You weren't particularly interested in
I
learning
wasn't.
the English language?
I
How
wasn't.
did you come about learning it?
Well, I learned in the men's home.
The men's home. So
Yeah.
our audience is pretty familiar with the men's home.
Yes.
So how did you end up going to the men's home? You came here at 11, and you went through school and what have you. So some things happened along the way?
Yeah, well, when I was 18, a little bit before I was 18, I dropped out of high school, and I got involved in drugs for you know, a short period of time when I was a teenager, to the point where I almost OD'd twice.
Really?
Yeah, I was inside out of my house for about a year, all paranoid. I destroyed my nerve system, and because of that, I had anxiety attacks, and I couldn't get out of the house. And so for a period of about a year, I was in that stage. But then I started feeling better. I went to the doctors. My parents took me to the doctors. They took me to Mexico, and I got well. I started working out. So for the period of 10 years, I wasn't doing drugs. I was just working. I was going to the gym. I was working out. Apparently, to the society, I had a good life. I had a good job, and you know, my family, my kids. You know, I had a house, a brand new car, and so, you know, apparently, like I said, to the society, I was doing good, but inside, I was still lost.
So inside you were lost, and so now, so you had gotten into the drugs. Was that because you weren't a bad guy? It sounds like. Was that because you just weren't able to relate to the surroundings and being in America, or what caused you to go ahead and start using drugs?
Well, at that time, I was already like almost 30 years old. I was almost 30 years old, and yeah, I went back to Mexico for a couple of months, and it was different than when I was a little kid. So I just feel like, you know, I feel like, you know, it was totally different over there when I went back, and then I came back. So I feel like, you know, might as well just, you know, I'm already here. But I still didn't want to learn the language, and I still feel lost. I feel like I didn't fit in, and, you know, here and then in Mexico, it kind of brings me to my mind about the people that get deported to Mexico. Their parents bring them when they were little kids, and they learn the language. Some of them, they don't even speak English. I mean Spanish, because they were raised here since they were babies, and they get deported to Mexico, and they feel like they're lost. So that's why Victory Outreach, we open up a church, and a men's home, a Victory home right there in Tijuana, for people that are deported that speak English. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go into Victory Outreach in a few minutes, but I just want people to relate or to hear what that story was, that as you came to America and you were trying to relate, but it was foreign to you. And
Yeah.
you know, and a story, I think, you know, people are not that different, you know. Now, as you went through that, it might have felt like, you know, Mexico was the part, was where you had come from,
Yes.
and you came here, then you went back and it was different.
It was different.
Yeah, it was very different.
Yeah.
And for me, that happened with my community. You know,
Oh.
I left my community, I went to Washington, and when I came back, all my friends had grown up and they had gone, the community had changed, and it didn't have the draw. But I wanted to come back because my memory was Lompoc when I was young.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, so people aren't that different. It's just, you know, you went through an experience that,
Yes.
you know, that caused you some discomfort. And so how did you actually start to get involved with the drugs and what have you?
Well, you know, like I said, I had a job. I had, you know, I was going after money. I was going after women. I was getting involved in things that, you know, it wasn't drugs, it wasn't, you know, alcohol, it wasn't anything like that. I wasn't getting in trouble. I never been in prison.
Yeah, and you weren't a gang member?
I wasn't a gang member. Actually, when I got here, when I was a teenager, when I told you that I was, you know, got involved in drugs and all that stuff, I did hang out with people that were that kind of background. Actually, Brother Joe, the one you had last
Joe
time.
that we had on last time.
Yes, I met him when we were little kids.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like 13, and I was probably like 15. He was like 15.
Yeah, and you and Joe had a little encounter, didn't you?
Oh yeah. He looked really mean.
Yeah.
Actually, I was walking to my house, to that apartment, and he was standing right there on the street, and he looked really mean, and he looked at me, and he told me something that I didn't understand, because at that time I didn't speak, you know, English. But what he was telling me is, "What are you looking at?" And so I turned around. I said, "I don't know what he's talking about." So he probably felt like I ignored him, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So he went up to me and he punched me.
Yeah, yeah.
He punched me, and then.
Yeah, Joe has a reputation of being an enforcer or something.
Yes.
You know? But isn't it something how the two guys that met on the street, right away, you know, you end up, you know, duking it out.
Actually, he was at that age. He was living in the streets.
Oh.
He was living in the streets. We used to live over there on New Love.
Yeah.
They used to call it the ghetto. And he was just in the streets.
Yeah.
He wasn't with his dad, with his mom.
Right.
He was just going wild.
Yeah.
I lived with my parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would sneak out in the middle of the night, but I always come back. So I wasn't really involved in drugs, but I hang out with those kind, you know, environment. You know. And I always say this: I was a gang member for one day, and I didn't like it. But
one day, yeah. But you know, you had the little dust up that you and him had.
Trying to fit in.
Yeah, but now you're in Victory Outreach, and from what I can see, you guys are pretty close.
Yes.
You guys know each other well, and are good friends, families, and
we're good friends. His wife is friends with my wife, and we always have a good time.
Yeah, that's the power of the Lord.
Yes.
So let's talk about your family a little bit. You know, your wife, Lisa.
Yes.
How did you meet her, and when did you guys get married, and do you have children?
Yes, I have 3 kids from my previous marriage. Like I said, when I came into the Victory home, I was married, but because of the lifestyle that I was living, you know, I started using drugs like a little bit over a year before I came into the Victory home. Right. And the reason why is because I couldn't handle it no more with the problems of life, you know. And sometimes we take refuge in alcohol and drugs and any other, you know, things because we can't find a way out. So that was my way out, you know, drugs and alcohol. And that, you know, it destroyed my marriage, you know, destroyed my family. I went into the Victory home, and I didn't know how to speak the language. I knew a little bit, like I can understand more than I can speak. But when I try to speak, everything was backwards, and sometimes
kind of like me with Spanish. Huh?
yeah. So it was like I didn't really. I picked up a little bit when I was in school, but because of that, I began to read the Bible and the Victory Home, and that's how I learned to speak the language.
Okay, okay. Now, for those who don't know what the Victory Home is, or we say the Victory Home, Victory Outreach has, all of the churches that Victory Outreach has, we have Victory Homes, or they're rehabilitation homes. Every church has a Victory Home around the country, and in fact around the world. It's the only free rehabilitation home that I know of, where a gentleman can just check in as you checked in.
Yes.
You don't have to pay to be there, but that you do have the service and the opportunity to rehabilitate yourself and to overcome the drug and the alcohol, and to learn and to meet Jesus Christ. So that's our Victory Home when Rodrigo refers to Victory Home. Now, how long were you in the Victory Home?
I was in the Victory Home for 14 months.
14 months, so almost a year and a half.
Yeah. Right after I graduated the home, I stayed in the home, actually in second phase, which they call a second phase. Yeah. You're still living in the home, but now you get to have a job, and but you're slowly, make your way out of the home. Right. And after I graduated the home, I started getting involved in the ministry. I was part of the worship team, and I was part of the children's ministry where I would teach the kids. So
you're part of the worship team, so you can sing, huh?
Well, not really, but
your brother could sing.
You're in the choir, everything blends in.
It all blends together.
It all blends together. But I remember when I was in the worship team, when I was in the choir, I saw my wife that is now walking into the church, and then through a preaching by evangelist R. Blajos, she got touched by the Lord. Her life was changed. She came from a background where, as well, she was using drugs. She was involved in gangs. I wasn't. And so, we see the power of God that is able to change, someone's life. And if he did it for us, he can do it for anybody else.
That's the whole point of the show, right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, if he did it for you, he can do it for whoever's watching.
Yes,
and that's the whole idea. We want the Lord to be able to touch you, and know that as throughout Rodrigo's story, as he was touched, the Lord will touch you also. All you have to do is open your heart and ask. So now you have gone on and started serving in the church, and been in the praise team, and taught in the youth and the children's ministry, and now you're involved with the Spanish ministry now, right?
Yes. I've been involved in the Spanish ministry for a while. Even when after I graduated the home, we had Spanish Bible studies, and then I had English Bible study at one point also. That's when my wife had the women's Bible study, and I had the men's Bible study, but we didn't even have an idea that we were going to end up getting married. And but that's how we met. We met in the church, and then right after that, God led us to work in the Spanish ministry, and it's funny how God works in our lives, because when I went into the Victory Home, I didn't know how to speak English, and now we're working with the Spanish ministry, me and my wife. And my wife, when we started, she didn't know how to speak Spanish, and now she's learning. She knows a little bit.
Hey,
so, we're doing the work of the Lord and the Spanish Spanish community.
And now, when we say that you're in the Spanish ministry, you're actually leading the Spanish ministry, right?
Yes.
With the Bible study and the ministry itself, you're leading and doing services. Do you want to tell what times that you have your services, and so that people might know if they want to stop in?
Yes, we have our services at 7 o'clock and 213 South Oakley. Every Tuesday we have a service there. So I want to make an invitation. If you know someone that speaks Spanish, or if you know Spanish, Also, you're more than welcome to come, to our Bible study every Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Okay, every Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
Every Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you and your wife had a chance to go to the convention in Mexico, right? To
Yes,
Guadalajara?
yes.
Yeah,
That was my
just-
wife's first time going to Mexico.
Yeah, I remember her talking, and she was saying how she was afraid to fly,
Yes.
and she was afraid to go to Mexico, right?
Actually, she was kind of just afraid to go to Mexico because the news and the media, what they what they said about Mexico, but it wasn't really that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that bad. I think more of the flight, she was already used to it because last year we went to Israel, and it was like a 14-hour flight.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So you went, and you guys went together as a team, and
Yes.
tell us about some of your experiences there.
Well, we had an awesome experience. It was our first Conferencia Latinoamericana. That's how it's called in Spanish. So it was something that it made history. The Victory Outreach, for the very first time, we have a American Latin Conference in Guadalajara, where different parts of Latin America, people came, and we got together and the Expo of Guadalajara, and people from Cuba came, from Central America, from Guatemala, all over, the country of Mexico, and it was powerful.
Yeah.
It was powerful. We got envisioned,
Amen.
and we got fired up for the Lord, and we're ready to take the city of Santa Maria, Santa Maria for Jesus.
Amen. Amen. So, what kind of turnout was it? How many people were there? Do you know,
Wow,
you have a sense?
I will say like about 5,000 people.
Really?
Yeah, it was packed. It was packed.
And so, how long did you stay? How long were you there?
We were there for 7 days.
7 days.
We're there for 7 days. It started on Tuesday, and it ended on Friday.
That's fantastic.
But me and my wife, we went 2 days earlier, so that way we can just go around and get to know the city.
Yeah, it's powerful. And you went to Guadalajara, and in December is coming up in South Africa. There's a convention there, and my wife and I are going to that. In fact, we just reserved our tickets for the airfare today. And so so we're going to go together, and we're going to be there, I think, 4 days.
4 days.
So I think hopefully have the same kind of experience that you had. Come back on fire, full of fire. Yeah. Okay.
You just got to go with the open heart, and God will pour the blessing.
Amen. Amen.
And then next year we're gonna have World Conference.
Yeah, World Conference is next year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff coming up, and we're looking forward to participating in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you now, as the leader for the Spanish ministry, you mind sharing with us some of your goals and your vision for the Spanish ministry? Yes.
Actually, like I said, we've been working with the Hispanic community for a while, and actually we have a couple of guys in our ministry that we're working as a team.
Yeah.
We're working as a team, and to reach out, reach out the community of Santa Maria.
You're working with people in the community. You have a couple of guys that are starting to come along and so on. So tell me then, overall what your vision is.
Well, our vision is that at one point we're looking to become a church, But right now we're a Bible study. We're looking forward pretty soon to turn it into a Victory Center. A Victory Center is not a church, but it's like a church. We have service. We run it like a church, and I know that God is going to move, and we're doing events to reach out to the community, like the one you were just talking about.
Yeah.
We had a couple of singers, mariachis, that were singing there.
Yeah, that was good.
Follow us.
Yeah, that was good. That got people going, man. I saw people were just, they were bopping and weaving and stuff, and then of course they include Christ in the songs, and so
Yes.
while it had the energy and the spirit of of having a good time, because a lot of people think in order to be a Christian you got to be boring and you can't have a good time.
Oh, no.
But no,
Christianity's not boring.
we had a ball.
Yes.
So you know, a lot of our Spanish-speaking youngsters are into the gangs, and you know, they're into the drugs and things that kind of tear down the community. Are you reaching out to those young people?
Yes, we go out to the streets, and we minister to people. We also pray for them, and like we were talking about, we have a victory home where they can come and if they're struggling with any drug addiction, alcohol, or any kind of vice, you know, the victory home, it's there to help out to those that want to change.
Yeah, exactly.
To those that want to change, and they're ready to make a change in their lives. And just like, you know, many of us in the church, we came broken.
Yeah.
And we were ready to, you know, to change. And God did a work in our lives, and now we're doing the same thing for others.
Yeah.
Because somebody else did it for us.
Exactly, and that's how it gets passed on. Is we appreciate what's been done for us, and we're thankful for it, and we're willing to share it with others, and it can happen for them as well.
Actually, one of the things that I always have in the back of my mind is when I was in the Victory Home, after I graduated the Victory Home, I always have this in mind that, you know, God didn't change my life and deliver me from the drug addiction and from all the misery that I was living in just to look good. Just to look good.
There's a purpose.
But I know that He did it because He wants me to do the same thing and to reach out to those that are in the same, you know, stage that I was before. And we know how it feels.
Yeah.
We know how it feels being, you know, broken. We know how it feels being hopeless.
Haven't gone through
But
that.
there's hope in Jesus.
Amen. And you certainly are exemplifying that. And so now you're employed, and you have your family. And we skipped over your kids. You want to talk a little bit about the kids? And I know I've met a couple of your children.
Yes.
So you want to share a little bit about them?
Yes, I have. Like I said, I have 3 beautiful kids, and I have 2 stepkids. My wife has two kids, and I have 3 kids. So we're a blended family, and but you know, we have a good relationship, and then God is doing a work in our lives. It's still working in our lives at this point, and I know that it's all preparation for what God has ahead for us in our lives.
Okay. All right. So then with the ministry, then how can the Spanish ministry then also blend in with the English ministry? You know, with Pastor Mike and what's going on with the main church. Well,
actually, what we do is we have the, you know, like we were talking about, we have the Spanish Bible study, and what we do, we encourage the people that come to our Bible study to come to service on Sunday morning, and then also on Wednesday night. And many of the people that come to this to the Bible study, they go to the services, even though it's in English. But we have translation with the earphones, so they'll be able to receive, you know, the message.
Right.
Even though it's in English, they will be able to receive because it's being translated
for them
into Spanish.
Okay.
And
Good.
many of them, there's a couple that we have in our Bible study that actually they came first to the church because they had a son that came to the Victory Home.
Okay.
And now they're involved in the Spanish ministry, and God is using them. So, you know, God is able to do, you know, miracles in families.
Okay. Good. So for World Conference, you have a group that you're going to be taking to World Conference. The World Conference is what, June of next year?
Yes.
And you have a group that you're taking?
Yes. Yeah. A couple of us we're getting together. We're going to go to World Conference, and also we're those that are coming. Those that are new. We actually are envisioning them.
Okay.
You know, with the overall vision of Victory Outreach, because we're just not a local church,
Right.
but we're a worldwide movement.
Yeah.
You know, we're in over 40 different countries around the world. You know, we just started work in Panama. We have a church in Africa. We have church in Spain.
7 churches in Africa.
Yeah, so we're in different continents.
So when we say World Conference, we're not just it's not just words. It's truly a world conference.
Yeah, it is.
And people come from all over the world, right?
Yes, yes. People come from
Holland, and
Brazil, yeah,
Africa,
and you know
Amsterdam.
You know what's the amazing thing about World Conference?
Yeah.
Because you're there,
Yeah.
and then we see so many different people with different backgrounds.
Right.
But we all have one thing in common.
Yeah.
You know, the many of us have the background of drug addiction, alcohol, but not only that. Victory Outreach, we have people that have never even been in drugs.
Right. That's right.
We have people that they haven't ever been, you know, involved in gangs. I wasn't in gangs, you know, but we're able to reach out to a whole community, not just the drug addict, not just the alcoholic or the gang member, but we reach out to the professional too.
Right. And so that's how Victory Outreach started, reaching out to the gang members.
Yes.
Because Pastor Sonny was a heroin addict and out in the streets and in the gangs and what have you. But as Victory Outreach grew, then the appeal went to others. And I think what you find, and I always try to talk about, is, you know, unless we open to others, our kids will grow up, and if we're successful, they won't be gang members. They won't be in drugs and alcohol. And how do they relate to Victory Outreach if we stay just a gang member church?
Yeah, well, we have a great example with our founder.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he answered the call of God, and he opened up his house right there in East LA for the drug addicts to come in. He, you know, took his kids out of the rooms and bring the drug addicts. Now all of their kids are involved in the ministry. You know, and their grandkids. They weren't gang members. They weren't, you know, drug addicts, but you know, they're successful, and that's why you know, it's not just for the drug addict, but it's for the hurting.
For the hurting.
For the hurting.
That's part of our mission statement. The hurting people of the world.
The hurting people of the world.
Yeah. And we look to the inner cities. I mean, that's kind of where our calling is for the inner cities. But that doesn't close us off to others that might be hurting as well, because every one of those people in the inner city, they have family members, and their family members may not be the drug addict or the gang member.
Exactly.
And we're just as open to them as well.
Yeah, and then we have you know, different variety of people that have different backgrounds. Like,
that's right.
It's just a great example about, you know, Brother Joe. And myself. When we go out to the streets, there are certain people that he's able to relate, you know, to minister to, and then there's other people that I'm able to minister to, because you know, I've been there before. You know, I have the same struggle before. So, but it all comes to the love of Christ.
Yeah.
It all comes to helping the hurting.
Amen.
Because for God, there's no color.
Yeah.
There's no culture.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and I remember when I first met you, I was over in Lompoc, and I remember you came over for some other business, and then you, before you actually got married, you and your wife Lisa used to come over for the Betty classes.
Yes.
And I would
School
see
ministry.
you. Yeah. I would see you, and you always impressed me as a very sincere brother, and I appreciated that about you. And one of our classes, remember, one of our classes was on. We had to go up in front. I forget the name of the class, but we had to go up in front, and we had to do a 5-minute talk on whatever the subject matter was.
Was it homiletics?
Probably homiletics. Probably homiletics. But I remember when you went up and you spoke up there. And I was like, this brother is very, very, very for real. And I believed even then when I saw you that you were going to touch a lot of people. And now that my wife and I have moved over here to Santa Maria, I see you as leading the Spanish ministry, and you're going to touch a lot of people and raise up an active movement right
Amen.
here in Santa Maria. And so I'm excited about working with you.
Amen.
I think you and Lisa are dynamic people, and that's only because of the influence of Jesus Christ in your life.
And the relationship that you cultivate. You know,
Amen.
the relationship that you develop with our Lord Jesus Christ and with one another.
Exactly.
And with one another.
That's exactly right. And so before we close, Rodrigo, I'd like for you, if you would, if you'd look into the camera, and if there's any last words you'd like to say to the people that are watching, words of hope and what have you, and then if you'd close us out in prayer. And do it in Spanish or in English, however you want to do it, but just a word to the folks that are tuned in.
Yes, one of the things that I remember, even before I came to the ministry of Victory Outreach, before I gave my life to the Lord, I remember that I was hurting and broken. And then one day I was in my room by myself. I didn't have no cable, I didn't have nothing. It was in the middle of the night. And I turned on the TV, and it happened to be in a Christian channel. And then it might be you tonight. It might be you this morning. I don't know what time you just turn on your TV, and you might be hurting. You might be at the point of desperation that you want to quit doing drugs, you want to quit drinking, or you feel at that point of even suicidal thoughts. I'm here to let you know that there's hope, and there's a purpose for your life. Amen. And sometimes we'll not be able to see it, but God sees it. Yeah. Because it's no coincidence that if you just turn on the TV and you feel that it's tugging in your heart, it's not a coincidence. So tonight, I'm going to ask you to open up your heart. And I'm going to say a prayer. And it's very simple. If you want to accept the Lord Jesus Christ into your heart, it's very simple. The Bible says that if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, that you are saved. Because with your mouth, you confess, and with your heart, you believe. Amen. So I'm going to ask you to bow your head and close your eyes and say, Lord Jesus, I come to you, and I recognize that I am a sinner. And I know that you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross and to save me and deliver me from my sins. I believe in the Son of God, that He died and rose on the third day. Jesus Christ, I ask you to come into my heart and change me and deliver me and save me. Amen. If you say that prayer tonight, God just going to change your life. It might not happen, over the night, but you're going to begin to see the difference that God is going to begin to change your life. Now, it's good for you to start reading your Bible and to start getting involved in a church. If you speak Spanish or if you speak English, whatever the language you speak, you find a church. We are the Spanish Bible study. We are 213 South Oakley, and you're more than welcome to come to our Bible study. And we also have service, our English service.
You're also welcome to come to our English service at 531 Farnell Road, 10 o'clock every Sunday morning and 7:30 every Wednesday evening. And you're totally welcome. We'd love to see you. And you know what I'd ask you to do?
We have interpretation.
We have the interpreters. And so don't worry if you speak Spanish, you don't understand English. We'll give you a little earphone, and there's a person that does the translation, so you will receive the word. One thing I would ask you to do when you come, if you're coming as a result of seeing this show, just mention to the usher as you come in the door, hey, I saw something on TV. They invited me to the service, and that's why I'm here. We like to get a little feedback on how effective the show is. All right, so thank you very much.